Hey gang, are you new to this podcast? Have you subscribed on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and realized that you can only access the 20 most recent shows on these platforms? Do you, while under quarantine, want to binge on How Did I Get Here? Well, check out our archives available for free. Simply go to howdidigethere.podbean.com, look on the right-hand column, and our entire catalog is easily accessible by month and year. 898 episodes available by month and year. Legends, new bands. That's howdidigethere.podbean.com.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
It's time for How Did I Get Here? And now here is your host,
All right, hello. I'm Johnny. I'm your host. Welcome to the show. How are you holding up? I hope you're safe. I hope you're healthy. I hope your loved ones are safe and healthy. This is getting crazy out there. I know that there's a lot of people with anxiety and depression issues, and this is kind of triggering a lot of intensity for you. And I understand that. I'm sorry. I don't know how to cure those things. I know how to do it myself. Like, for myself, what have I been doing? I threw myself into the podcast last week, and I've been doing a lot of podcasts. So you'll be hearing a lot of conversations with people. I've been playing some music. Probably going to do some live streaming from now on, connecting with people. Hey, check it out. I got a song for you. Just kind of figuring out how to do. The lighting in my place is weird. That's what's wrong with it. So I've been playing music, been doing the podcast. I watched Tiger King, an insane show about this guy named Joe Exotic. That should be enough for you. There's so much more I could say, but that should be enough. Tiger King featuring a man named Joe Exotic. That's enough. That was good. And I got to see my girlfriend this weekend. That was good. She came in on Thursday. We hung out for a couple of days. I've been cooking. I made some soup on Thursday, some vegetable soup. And that turned out pretty good. And yesterday I made some chicken in the slow cooker, like my friend Todd Wolfson taught me how to do. That turned out pretty good. I've been enjoying making stuff in the slow cooker because you can make enough stuff to last a few days. Don't got to keep on going to the store all the time. But you know, I used to be an everyday grocery store guy, and now I've got to curb my. You know what I mean? We're all changing our lives. No one knows for how long. The information we're getting is wonky. Our leadership is wonky, to say the least. In this situation. But, man, hang in there. Reach out to people. You know, I've heard from a lot of people that I haven't heard from in years, and that's been great. And I've reached out to people that I haven't talked to in years. Hey, how you doing? You hanging in there? You doing all right? I still got more friends to reach out to. Probably going to reach out to some this morning. Anyway, stay connected. If you're feeling lonely, reach out to someone. If you're feeling anxious, reach out to someone. I know it's hard. And I know that this is a difficult time. Both, like, people are scared for their loved ones, people are scared for their health, and people are scared for their future. We all are. Everyone is. I think everyone in the world right now is pretty scared. And the only thing I can really do is keep on doing what I do. I'm going to keep on doing the podcast, going to keep on talking to people. Speaking of the podcast, usually when we get to episode 98 or 99 of one of the hundreds, we're on episode 898 today. Usually that is a best of the last 100 shows, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to keep on putting out podcasts. On the next episode, 899, that's supposed to be music where I play DJ and I play music from people that have been on the podcast for the last 100 episodes. I did make a Spotify playlist for that, and I will post it on the How Did I Get Here Facebook page. And you can go check it out, man. There's music from tons and tons of bands. Calliope Musicals, Mobley, Sidney Wright, Fastball, Shiny Ribs, The Mastersons. So much great music from people that have been, Ray Wiley Hubbard, tons of people that have been on the show. Anyway, the last 100 episodes have been great. It's been fantastic doing this, but I started Skyping people and doing podcasts, and I figured instead of doing a best of show, you guys can go listen to that Spotify playlist, and it's real long. It's like 2.5 hours long instead of me just playing 10 of the songs on here. And I'll just keep on bringing you conversations. Like today Today, I have country artist Jeff Warren Johnston on the show. His brand new album, Undiscovered Country, is available now. He spent a lot of time making this record, years. Took a lot of money. Why? Because he had a heavy hitters all on the record. It was produced by the legendary Rich Brotherton and features such legends as Lloyd Maines, Red Volkart, and my dear Italian amigo, the keyboard-playing Mr. Stefano Intellisano. Jeff Warren Johnston's album, Undiscovered Country, is available on his website. You can buy the record now. Go to jeffwarrenjohnston.com. And he's got some singles available on the streaming sites. But anyway, Jeff Warren Johnston got into playing this Texas country music. His singles have charted on Texas country music radio. And he's been playing shows with the band. But also, Jeff Warren Johnston is a nurse. He told me he went to nursing school. He got his shit together during this time so he could sort of like build a future for himself. And so he's out there helping others. And in this time, like I didn't even think about to talk to him about what he would be doing in the next couple of weeks back when we talked. But I bet right now, Jeff Warren Johnston is out there busting his ass to help all of us. So in advance, I would like to thank him for his service and for being a nurse and a nice person out there taking care of other people. All right. Anyway, we have a great conversation. Apparently, some years ago, back in the era of MySpace, before he was playing country music, he was doing some kind of like indie rock music from his bedroom or something, and he posted a tune on MySpace, and I told him I loved his music, and he was kind enough to remember that, and we pointed out. And listen, man, Jeff's a really nice guy. I really like this dude. We have a great conversation. He's an interesting cat. He's got some vocal issues going on right now. But he still manages to power through it, man. He sounds good on this record. So check it out. His album's Undiscovered Country. Go to jeffwarrenjohnston.com. And without further ado, please enjoy our conversation. Let's get down.
From the very first time that I saw her face, she had porcelain skin like a princess face. She's so beautiful and easy to break. She made me stop on a dime when she walked right in, because she looked so fine, and you know I'd been expecting her for quite some time. It's not about the clothes she wears.
One of my best friends from the time I was 10 years old lost his job with them.
That sucks.
Yeah, it totally sucks, man. You know?
Mm-hmm.
There's no recourse. They didn't have the insurance for virus cancellation. I'm not laughing at it. It just sounds funny to say virus cancellation.
Well, yeah, you know, it's kind of... You probably don't want to buy earthquake insurance either if you live in Austin. It's not the kind of thing that you expect.
No. How long you lived in Austin, man?
I was born here.
You were born here? You're born and raised in Austin.
Yes, sir.
And you were saying earlier that in the era of MySpace, back in the day, I guess now.
Are we recording now?
Yeah.
Are we going? Oh, okay.
Sorry, it's sneaky like that. Well, the thing is I never want anyone to have like a fake accent.
Sure. Yeah.
Or pretend radio voice. Isn't that mean?
Do my best.
And plus, it also just gets you talking, and then you're comfortable without.
Oh, no worries.
Realizing you're.
I'm pretty comfortable here.
I'm gonna dive into your soul and expose you for the fraud that you are.
I'm not afraid of you, Johnny. Come at me, bro.
You were saying that I heard your stuff in MySpace era and wrote you, "Hey, this is a cool song." Or is that,
I think you actually said, "I love your music."
Oh. That's nice.
And it was,
I must have.
There was nothing country about it back then. So it was quite a different sound. It's not going to... it was more like Beck meets, Wilco and the Beatles kind of thing. I got compared to Elliott Smith a lot before I knew...
So you've always kind of been like a singer-songwriter. You just had kind of a different sound for it then.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've done jazz. I've composed for classical... orchestra. I was in school for a while for theory composition, and I don't like to limit myself. I mean, country is one thing I do. I've just happened to be more successful with country than I have with other genres so far. Depending on how you measure success, I guess. I haven't been able to get anything else on the radio.
Right.
And the country thing just kind of took off after a long period of writer's block. I had in mind to try something new. And I'd written a lot of rock tunes with a lot of Southern influence, a la Tom Petty and Bob Dylan, things like that. But I never deliberately said, I'm going to write just country songs until about 2009. And it all came flooding in so fast. I was just so happy to be over the writer's block.
Yeah.
And it just caught on, and people responded well to it, so I just kept doing it, and I'm still doing it now.
Yeah. How? You've got shows coming up. I didn't write them down. Oh, shoot, and I left my phone over there, which had it open to the page of your thing. Anyway, you do have shows coming up, like 1-to-1 and stuff like that. You don't have to name them. I'll go through and say it at the end.
Yeah.
And at the intro. I'll take care of that. Do you play like the traditional country or places? Like those places like
Pootie's.
Mercer Street Dance Hall in Dripping Springs?
I play Pootie's a lot.
That's a country place. Yeah, I saw you playing Pootie's.
I love that place. And
But Pootie's is also like blues, rock and roll, and like...
well, they do a little everything, and that's kind of who I am. I'm a little of everything. And there's a lot of rock influence in my sound, and there's a lot of traditional country in my sound. You can hear it. But I don't claim to be one of these George Jones or Merle Haggard clones running around out there trying to save country music or whatever and make it sound exactly like it did 50 years ago. Even though
but you have the pedal steel and
sometimes.
You know what I liken it to more of like in the 70s. You have like backup singers, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like they sound like professional backup singers that you would hire for a session. Mm-hmm. You know? That's cool.
We have some backup singers with great voices on the album, and I do go for a more traditional sound often because that's the music I love to listen to.
It's an organic sound. I didn't think of it as. I mean, there's acoustic guitar, there's pedal steel, there's backing vocals. Mm-hmm. There's a story about like a rodeo clown guy, or is he just a rodeo guy?
That's El Toro. That's the first track.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorites. We got a string arrangement on there with the Tosca Quartet.
Oh yeah,
arranged by Stephen Barber.
Oh yeah, I love Stephen Barber.
I love that guy.
Love him. He's been on the show.
Amazing guy. Yeah.
Amazing story.
Amazing talent.
Yeah, and cool guy.
He was one of the people my producer didn't think we could get, and I was amazed because he could get anybody. And I said, I really want to get this Stephen Barber guy, and he said,
man, we can't get that.
In the interest of time,
would you go to Justine's like at 11 at night?
Well, no, I just said I'm just going to email him and see what he says. What harm can it do?
Yeah.
And then I got an email back from his assistant who said, Stephen likes the song, and he'd love to do it. Let's talk. It was just proof. It's like, you don't know. The worst that can happen is someone can say no.
Yeah.
And he said yes, and it was awesome.
You know what? You want to hear the opposite side of that story?
Sure.
I did a record. I had the Tosca String Quartet do it. I had a different guy who was great do it. But when I was talking to the guy that was doing it, Lars Goranson, we went back and forth, and he was like, oh, I've got this guy. And I was like, man, I'm friends with Stephen Barber, but I don't feel like I can ask him. Is that weird, right? So check this out. So a few months later, I'm at dinner at a mutual friend of ours house. Steven's there, and I have this new album, and my bro's like, hey, put it on. Let's listen to it. The strings come on, and Steven's like, wow, who did this? And I was like, well, man, I got to be honest. This dude did it, and he's like, oh, I did a good job. I was like, I wanted you to do it, but I felt weird asking you. He was like, what is wrong with you? Like,
yep.
Yeah. There's guys out there.
Never be afraid to ask.
I am afraid to ask.
Augie
there's
Myers,
a lot of people.
Augie Myers was in Doug Som's band. You
got him on your record, huh?
Well, I almost did. He agreed. He said yes. And I thought that was a long shot. But for logistical reasons, we ended up going with a local guy because, well, for one, Augie's based out of San Antonio now, and we would have had to travel San Antonio for that. And then I think he was not doing well for a while there, and not really available just because of illness.
Right.
And this album was 10 years in the making. And I had long periods where I got away from it for a while and would come back.
Wait.
Things had changed,
Yeah. Everything had changed. I bet one time you went, there was no Spotify, and then the next time there was no iTunes.
You know what I mean? I haven't been... I haven't been pushed by the greatest sense of urgency through this all.
Apparently not.
I've taken my time to make
Yeah.
sure I did it right,
Yeah.
the way I felt it should be, and it just took a long time, you know. And I also was distracted with college and other things I had going on. So,
All right. This
it's
is
a long story.
I feel like well, let's find it. Let's find a line to start with. Let me just get this. Who produced this record?
Rich Brotherton,
Oh yeah, I love that guy. He's great.
yeah, he's amazing.
I don't think I know him very well though.
Lead guitarist for Robert Earl Keen for
Yeah.
like 25 years.
I've seen him play with Casper.
Yeah, he's
scrappy.
incredible, and Rich kind of saved the project because before him I was trying to do it on my own.
Was he the guitar
And-
guy?
Yeah, he's a guitar player, but he's
No. Was he on the record guitar?
oh yeah, he's all over the record.
It's good.
He plays a lot of guitar on there, among other things. A cittern, which is kind of like I think it's a Scottish lute sort of instrument, and it's beautiful. It's on El Toro, that first track. It sounds kind of like a mandolin, but but with its own flavor to it. But yeah, Rich Brotherton was kind of a dream come true. I didn't really have I tried a couple people to help me produce, record the record, and it just wasn't coming out right. It didn't sound, I wanted it to sound like a polished professional production, and I couldn't quite get there on my own. I'm not very production savvy. I'm more of just a writer-performer. And Rich knows how to tweak all the knobs. He knows all the right effects to pull out. He can hear things in compression that I've racked my brain for 10 years and I still can't hear it. I don't know what he's talking about. He's like, don't you hear that? Don't you hear that? And he'll turn the knob and I'll say, no. And he'll go, well, okay, hold on. How about this? I'll make it real extreme. And I'll say, no, I still don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, fine, I trust you because it sounds great. And everyone else says it sounds great too. So thank God
Did he mix it
for
too?
Rich. Yeah, he mixed it.
Okay.
He mixed it, recorded it. He played all over it. I don't think I would have gotten all the players on there I did without him, you know. Cause
Who all did you have on there?
Red Volkart for one.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, he's amazing. I got
He was on the show. Afterwards, he was like, "Man, you got to come up, like, you know, next time you're at one of the shows, man, come up and jam with me." And I was like, "Are you fucking crazy?" No.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's intimidating.
Yeah. No way. And also, how does he play?
How does he
He
play?
just
with the big old
the
fingers?
whole time we sat here, I just could not take my eyes off. I mean, I
Yeah.
just flat out said, like, your hands do not look like a dude that plays like you do. You know what I mean?
It's remarkable. And
Okay, so that's great. Who else did he get on there? Unbelievable.
Warren Hood's on there. He was
Amazing.
fantastic on fiddle.
Yeah.
as I'm sure you're aware. Riley Osborne, who played with a hero of mine, B.W. Stevenson. In the
Yeah,
70s.
he's like an old school Austin
organ
guy.
player.
Yeah.
He played on a lot of my favorite 70s records, and it was just kind of amazing that I had
Oh, the organ is great on there.
Yeah, that's Riley Osborne, and he's old school 70s, played with B.W. Stevenson, who's one of my favorite artists.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to get to meet these people. Lloyd Maines is on there.
Shit.
Lloyd Maines playing the pedal
The
steel.
Lloyd Maines, baby.
He's the one guy I didn't get to meet. I didn't get to sit down or shake hands with Lloyd.
Oh, because you can just send him stuff.
Yeah,
and,
he was
'cause
like,
he's
sure,
got his
I'll
own
do it.
studio.
Email it to me. And I was kind of disappointed. I was like, oh, man, you know. But I understand. He's kind of a big deal, and he's got a lot going on. And I'm just, you know, I am just honored that he's even on there at all. So
Who are the backup singer people?
Leanne Atherton
Yeah.
does a lot of the female backup vocals. And then some local guys, Jacob Jager, who's a fantastic songwriter. In his
Yeah,
own
he's
right.
really good.
He's on there. There was a band he was in for a while, Ghost Along the Brazos. And basically all the guys from that band are singing backup on a couple of tracks.
Got some heavy dudes on there, man.
One of my
And
best
lady.
friends, Ben Balmer,
Yeah.
he's one of my best friends now. He's going on radio tour with me for the second time next week.
Is Ben Balmer the guy with the long hair that up
Yeah.
in here? Yeah, he's been on the show. I like that guy.
Crazy good harmonica player.
Yeah.
Crazy good songwriter, singer.
Yeah.
And he's like, I feel like my secret weapon. You know, I take him everywhere, and he just makes me sound better at everything. And he's an incredibly nice guy. He's on
Yeah,
there.
he's a nice guy, gentle fellow. Mm-hmm. Yeah, from what I remember.
Very gifted. And then there's others. I don't want to forget anyone, but there's a long roster.
So you've been sending these songs, and you have a radio guy, a radio team,
I have a radio promoter.
radio promoter. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And we broke the top 100 with that woman.
Okay.
Our first effort there. It's still in there. It's still in the top 100.
And that's Texas radio, Texas country radio.
Texas regional radio. Mm-hmm.
And that's the one that, like, there's the Bree Bagwells, there's
I think so.
those kind of guys are, like, charting on there.
Seen Dale Watson on there.
Dale Watson on there.
Corey Morrow.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool guys.
I mean.
But it's its own genre, and it seems to have, like, its own circuit of venues. Like, you play the Do-Si-Do. Is that part of the thing?
You know, I'm having trouble,
Getting to the Woodlands?
well,
I always think it's so funny because it's in the Woodlands. I'm like, there's nobody. Let's like, yeah, I'm going to the Woodlands to play a gig.
I'm not booking a lot of shows yet.
Oh, you're not?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
I'm mostly playing around here. I play one bar every month.
Yeah, I saw that.
I play Pootie's on the weekend a lot. And I've started branching out around Texas more. I've got 2 booking agents, and it's hard to book gigs anymore. There's so many bands around Texas and coming out of Austin, and until they get to know you,
Right.
But I made some headway. There's a couple places, Comanche, Texas, and then I've played in Houston a couple times. And
Where do you play in Houston at that country place?
what is that place
The
called?
Redneck?
Goodnight Charlie's
Oh.
or something like that. I want to play the dance halls.
Yeah.
But one of the things that holds me back, I think, and I'm probably shooting myself in the foot here, is I don't really do covers. I'm a writer, and a lot of these places really want you to play mostly covers, if not all.
Oh.
And to me, that's just not really my thing. And I'm starting to come around to that and maybe sprinkle some in here and there.
Blame it all on my roots.
Yeah, no thanks. But it's a hard thing for a writer to accept that you have to play stuff other people wrote.
Yeah, dude, I'm a
please
songwriter in a cover band. I know exactly what you're talking about.
That's something that's been hard for me to come to terms with. But there's certainly a lot of writers I admire that I'll work up some things, but then I gotta, I want to make sure they're tight because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I want to get with the band and, work out all the kinks first.
So you have a band that you have regular guys?
Not really. I mean, I do have. It's getting
You got a
more.
pool?
It's getting more regular, but
Okay.
the pool is
Yeah.
pretty wide.
I got a
It's
pool.
pretty big.
Yeah.
And I don't have a locked in band that's always the same.
Yeah.
And that's kind of part of the fun
Sucks.
of it too.
Oh, sorry.
It has
Sucks
its
for me.
Well, it has its ups and its downs.
Yeah.
Because one thing you get in danger of is every show sounding the same, and when you mix it up every now and then, you can come out with a different result.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
It
I
can be
have.
interesting
Yeah.
for people in the audience if they've seen you more than a few times.
Yeah. I've been in situations where I had a revolving cast of characters, and I kind of would be like, cool. Let's be this kind of band this time.
Right.
With these guys, it goes like this, and with these guys, it goes a little more like this.
Absolutely.
All right. So you're from here, born and raised.
Born and raised.
How old are you? You don't mind my asking? Is that something you
I
don't say
mind.
publicly?
No, I'm 41, and it's fine. Whatever.
Of course, it's fine, man. You're fine.
I had to get over that. I turned 30.
Oh, because you started working on this record. You were like 31 years
30.
old. You're like a 30. You're like, oh, yeah, I'm doing this record with Rich Brotherton. It'll come out in my 40s. Dude, I dig that, man.
I'll be 60 by the time the follow-up comes out.
No, you'll be 50. Hopefully.
Well, unless you take even longer. That's the joke. But
So, like, what part of
each
town?
record
What do you...
should go faster? You would hope.
Yeah.
I've lived all over Austin, but I grew up mostly up north. When I was very young, we were kind of upper middle class. My dad was a lawyer, and we lived in a nice neighborhood that was new. It wasn't quite like it is now. Today, I don't think I'll live long enough to afford a place there. Jester Estates, if you know that neighborhood. Anyway, the houses up there are like in the millions now. We were one of the first families up there, and our house was much, much less than that. But still, I'd say upper middle class. And then my parents split up, and that all kind of went away. And I moved into a tiny little duplex, just me and my mother, in another part of town, and another school district with all new people. And that was close to Round Rock, I guess, Round Rock School District. I was about 11 when that happened, 12.
That's a weird age.
And then my mom remarried, and then we moved back over to another part of North Austin, into a little townhome that was, I guess, a step up from the duplex.
You moved to a whole other school district and stuff?
Mm-hmm. And then...
was it hard for you to make friends or anything, or were you doing all right, or did you keep up with you? Did you keep up with your old friends, even if you just move across town? I've never done that.
I kept up with some of them,
okay.
Yeah. And then when I went back, people remembered me.
Yeah.
But for a while there, it was like I was in a whole new place with these snobby kids. It was funny, even though we downgraded to a tiny duplex, I went to a more wealthy school. And so like all these kids had like the fashionable Jabot jeans, and I had stuff from like Solo Serve.
Sure.
And no, I didn't make friends easily. It was horrible.
Yeah.
It was the worst time of my life, actually. 6th and 7th grade was absolutely a nightmare.
It is anyway, kind of.
Yeah.
I think so. Did you have...
it depends, but I think for a lot of people, it feels like probably the hardest time in life.
Yeah. For me, it was very hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was music and sort of like announcing that this is what I was going to do. Mm-hmm. You can see that photo back there. I was 14. That's my first gig at Kayla's house. But that's how I came out of it. Like I was 13 when I started that band. But that's what pulled me out of that sort of like weird early pubescent depression where you don't, you feel like you're the only person experiencing anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I grew up north, basically. Were your parents like music people? No.
My dad was a lawyer.
No, music was evil, and the only people who wanted to play music were drug addicts.
Were they like
lives
church oriented?
I think my mom kind of wanted to be. For a little while there, we went to church a couple times,
right.
And then it never really stuck. My dad was definitely not.
What kind of lawyer is your dad?
I'm not even sure. My dad was kind of a compulsive liar.
Oh, no.
So I know he was a lawyer, but I don't really, I'm not sure what he did. He claims that he did legal work for rock stars like Willie Nelson and Janis Joplin, but I think that a lot of that might
be... But you didn't go to their shows?
A load of BS. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
The thing about my dad, he's kind of an enigma. He talked real big, and most of it was not true, but some of it was. And sorting out what was and what wasn't is just too much trouble.
Yeah.
I don't really care.
I have that kind of dad. It's funny because those kind of dads do kind of make guys like us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That want to go out and just earn an honest day's living. Like, you don't want to jive anyone. You want to write a great song, make a great record, get it played on the radio, go to a show, have people show up, pay money, and give them their money's worth. Mm-hmm.
I think it's funny that he would brag about doing work for these kind of people, and at the same time discourage me from pursuing a life in music.
So you guys aren't close now? Are you close?
Oh, well, he passed away a couple years ago.
Sorry about that.
But I can't say we were ever really close. I mean, for a long time, I tried really hard to win his approval.
Yeah,
and that, there's a good and bad to everything.
Yeah.
I'm sure it motivated me in ways that helped me. So
I know exactly. I talk about this with people all the time because I have that same kind of dad. My dad's still, like, to this day, I recorded this song yesterday. I talked to him this morning. I'm like, yeah, I recorded this song yesterday. And we're like, hey, let me call you back.
What's funny?
Still, I'm 51 and I'm still like, Dad, will you...
I'll tell you the funny thing, though. When I started doing country exclusively, he finally came around and started, he called me up. He's like, I really like that new music you're playing. And it's like, okay. He's like, you're finally playing some real music. I'm like, all right, sure,
that always
thanks.
Feels good. Yeah.
It's like, oh, so everything I did before this is crap? Okay, I get it. But yeah, thank you. Love you too. But, it was nice. I got some validation.
Did you get some...
I played something he could understand.
Right. Did you end up, like, before he passed on a good...
Not really.
Oh, sorry.
Nah, it's all right. You know.
What about your mom? Is she still around?
She's around.
Yeah.
I don't really know what she's up to.
Okay.
Just that kind of thing.
Okay.
But,
So when did you? How did you move out? Like, did you take off?
I think it was pretty. Well, yeah, I kind of took off. I graduated school a year early because I got invited to join this band with these older dudes that were like 10 years older than me.
So were you like a music guy as a kid?
In high school, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, I was singing and writing, I guess what you could call lyrics in middle school, but I didn't get a guitar until I was 15, and that's basically because my parents adamantly refused for years. I'd been asking well, first I wanted to play piano because I thought I wanted to be Jerry Lee Lewis.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
I was probably 9.
Yeah.
And I did get a cheap little Casio thing, and I did teach myself some stuff like Heart and Soul by ear.
Yeah.
My dad was flabbergasted. Who taught you that? Well, I taught myself. How about some real lessons? No. You know, the answer was no. You're going to get a real job. You have to be a doctor or a lawyer, or else you're worthless, basically. And
It's so funny that it's always those two professions.
yeah.
It always is.
And he was impressed by what I did, but he didn't want to encourage it. So that was odd, you know.
Yeah.
But then I got into guitar, but I couldn't have a guitar, obviously. Not a proper one anyway. I had a toy guitar that was garbage.
Like a plastic thing?
Yeah, like a thing they got me in Mexico when I was 6, and didn't really tune or didn't really sustain any tones, you know.
Oh, I understand.
Same thing happened on that. I taught myself a melody and blew my dad's mind for whatever reason. I don't think it was that great, but he still wouldn't make the leap. Maybe my son should be encouraged. Maybe I should help him pursue this music thing a little bit further.
Yeah.
No, didn't happen. But whatever. I did it on my own. I finally got into high school and I got pushy enough and I learned how to bargain a little bit more. And I got it out of him. Eventually, I got a proper guitar that I still play now.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a Strat. It's a Fender Strat.
Sweet.
Yeah, Mexican Strat.
Remember where you got it?
I replaced a lot of the hardware in it and the pickups, and it's nice. I got it at Straight Music.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. When they were over on
Lamar,
by where Waterloo Records is. They used to be over there. I think it became that.
It's like when Whole Foods was next to it.
Yeah.
Where Cheapo Discs.
Cheapo Discs. I think it was where Cheapo Discs.
No, it was in the building next to it with all the other stores in it. But yeah.
Yeah, it was over there. 94, I think, is when I finally got a guitar. And then I thought I was going to be Kurt Cobain. That was, I learned on Kurt Cobain, and I went immediately from Kurt Cobain to Jimi Hendrix and reading tablature and stuff. And
did you ever get the lessons?
No. I was self-taught. I had
That's good, though,
I had
man.
a subscription to Guitar Magazine.
And then you learn how to read the tabs.
I read the tabs. I didn't know anything really about music until my early 20s, and I started going to school. And so I majored in music, and I learned properly at that point.
Where'd you go to school?
ACC. And I'll tell you what, that music school is one of the top schools in the country. At least it was when I was there. Yeah. Hopefully it's continued to be that way. But they got amazing teachers there.
Yeah.
And
was Jeffrey Shulman one of the music business guys? He was the head of it, right?
Department.
Yeah.
And then Craig Nazer was a big influence on me. He was kind of a no bullshit, wasn't afraid to fail people that weren't applying themselves. And, you got what you deserved in his class. And I worked really hard, and I got A's in there, but I had to work for him. It wasn't like, people expected music classes to be blow-off classes, I think. And he disappointed a lot of folks that wanted to think that way.
Yeah.
But, And
so were you playing in bands then when you were going to ACC and studying? Or what were you doing?
Well, I had that band. I told you I played with that drummer I thought might have known you.
Right. We might have.
We had a band called The People, and we were just a trio, and played around a little bit.
Where?
We played at Saxon Pub.
Nice.
A couple times, like on Thursday night at midnight or something. And where else did we play? Steamboat. And
so that was still around.
Yeah. that I think it was the second or third incarnation of it. And it was short-lived.
The big one where the LeBaire is.
Yeah, it was giant.
Yeah,
that was actually a really fun show.
That's that Congress and Riverside.
We did really well, and they said we have to have you back, and then they were closed the next week. They went out of business. That kept happening to me. That was the thing. And then the back room. Remember the back room?
Yeah,
off Riverside.
Yeah.
They the booking agent there called me one day and he said, "Your band is, I think, the kind of band I want to have here regularly, like once a week." I said, "Great." He's like, "Can you play next week?" And I said, "Yes." And then I found out that day my bass player had quit. So I had no bass player, and I had this gig, and then I couldn't find a replacement, and I lost the gig, and that was a big kind of kick in the guts. But I didn't know as many people back then. I wasn't quite as resourceful. I should have just kept plugging along and found another bass player, which I would do today. There's 100 bass players I can call now.
I have a good friend that he's like a grown guy. He's amazing, writes great songs, amazing front man, and just kind of doesn't do it anymore because his bass player moved away. And I'm like,
yeah,
fucking get another guy. What's wrong with you, dude?
I was 21, 22,
yeah.
And I had this idea that we were a tight-knit band,
sure,
and every member was essential. I wanted to be like the Beatles or something, and I got over that, and that's why I'm a solo artist now. Really, I don't try to start bands, where I depend on other people, because I can keep plugging away no matter who quits, Yeah. And that's a great freedom to have.
So that was in the mid 90s,
late 90s.
When you were late 90s,
early 2000s.
Oh, right,
late,
yeah. Because Steamboat closed in the early 2000s.
I don't remember exactly when all this stuff happened. And then that bass player, we did reunite a few times and play some shows, but he was never committed to the band after that.
What kind of music were you playing then?
It was rock and roll. Well, we started off trying to be like really heavy alternative rock, because we both loved Nirvana, and we were going for that kind of thing. But then I got addicted to Tom Petty, and I bought every Tom Petty album and listened to him front to back every day for a while. Mm-hmm. And that started to show up in my writing, and I think that's part of why he quit, because we just moved so far away from what we started out with. And so we were playing, southern rocky kind of rock and roll, rockabilly type things.
Mm-hmm. And so you did that, and then you kept on making music, and then
I decided to go to school to really learn.
Go back to school.
Well, to go to college for the first time.
Okay.
Yeah, because I realized that I had a lot to learn. I was writing songs and not really knowing how. When I wrote that album that you said you really liked, I had no idea what I was doing. And it was frustrating, because the songwriting process, I would have an idea, and I would fiddle around trying to find it, and I would chase this idea, and I couldn't figure out how to play it. And oftentimes I'd come out with a completely different song, which sometimes worked out well, because you accidentally stumble on things you didn't think of. But it was frustrating. But then I got into ear training, and I realized there was a way to identify what you were hearing. And then if you could do that, then whatever ideas you had in mind, you could translate through your instrument. I wanted to be able to do that. And so I went down that rabbit hole of ear training on my own for a while, which was very fortunate. That made music school a lot easier for me, because a lot of people struggled in sight singing ear training. And I had a much easier time of it, I think, because I had already been studying that on my own, learning to identify chords, intervals, what have you, by ear. And then that opened up the world of jazz to me. I started getting really deep into jazz, and I joined the ensemble and
at ACC.
At ACC, and I had my sights set on UT. I tried out to be the jazz guitar guy there, and I had some teachers that were kind of helping groom me for it. They were encouraging. I didn't really have a shot, though. There were like 100 guys, or people, I should say. There were 100 people vying for that spot, and there was like one, maybe two spots, I think. So I'm not surprised I didn't get it. They did accept me to theory comp, and I could have gone into that, which was intriguing, because I also got way into classical music too, and I was composing.
So you're just like on this musical journey.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. We don't have enough time. My life is insane, and I don't often reveal a lot of it because I'm afraid people will think I'm lying. But I have a weird, crazy life. And
can you reveal some of it
for
my listeners
absolutely.
that are probably just sitting on the trail right now? Someone's jogging, going like, "What? He's not going to tell us about his insane life?" Who cares if you're lying? As long as it's interesting, it's a show.
I don't think I could tell you everything in one session, unless you want to be here all day, which I don't have a lot to do today, but I bet you do.
Well, where do we start? What's like? What do you? What happened?
Well, okay, so what happened was I was struggling to make money. And even if you're doing well with music, you're still not probably making a lot of money unless you're famous, right?
Yeah.
And it's just tough out there, and it's getting tougher every day. In this new age of, music should actually be free for everybody. It's a struggle, even if you're good and accomplished. So I realized that, and I thought, I'm about to go to school, and I'm about to get in tons of debt, and I'm going to come out the other end, and I'm going to be able to compose really well, and I might be able to teach, but am I going to have enough money to really put out an album and promote it and go on tour and still live comfortably and not starve? And I thought maybe as long as I have to have some kind of day job, maybe it should be a day job that actually makes money, and maybe it's flexible and offers a lot of vacation time, and so
CEO of some rad company.
Well, I mean, you can't just fall into that.
No, that's why I was laughing.
But I looked around and I searched around and I came up with nursing. And it's like, nurses, a lot of them only work 3 days a week. And then they got good benefits. They got good vacation time. It's a worthy, it's an admirable career. Yeah. So I put my focus on that. I said, I'm going to take some time. I'm going to invest into this nursing thing. And when I'm done with it, I won't be living in my van anymore. I lived in a van for a year.
Yeah, I saw that you were squatting somewhere in your bio earlier today when I was reading
I've lived on a lot of couches. I've lived in vehicles, You
lived in your van for a year?
I paid my dues.
What part of town?
Actually in a taxi cab. I drove a taxi cab for 4 years, and I lived in it. I showered at the gym. I had all my belongings.
Were you trying to do music
storage
and stuff?
Locker? Yeah. The guy I told you that I thought you might know, he actually lived in a storage unit. And
Really?
we would rehearse there.
That's wild.
It was wild, man. Some wild times. But I got tired of it.
Was it rough? Like, were you depressed? Were you...
Well, yeah, sometimes. Sometimes it was kind of exciting because you're on this adventure, right? But it gets old, It gets old. And then you try to date people. You're going to take them home to your van?
Yeah.
It's just... It was hard to inspire a lot of confidence in a partner with that lifestyle. So
sure.
I had a lot of relationships that didn't end so well, mostly because... And I don't blame them, but, it wasn't clear that there was any kind of future with me. So I had to do something.
It's kind of like in a free fall situation.
Yeah, and being a starving artist, it's like, I guess it's cool and romantic when you're young, but when you get older, it's just kind of pathetic.
Yeah, I had this guy that had this label that put out one of my records that said, man, starving artist is a poor career choice. I always thought that was pretty funny and true. But yeah, wow. So
I decided I'm still going to be an artist, but not the starving kind.
Yeah.
So I worked at it.
Yeah.
And, now I'm a nurse, and I can fall back on that. I guess you can say I don't really fall back on it, though. Music's still my primary focus. It's just now, instead of working at Guitar Center for minimum wage, I have a decent job, and I have I can afford to live in a home. And
okay, so sorry, you can afford to live in a home, but sorry, you were about to say something, and I cut you off.
Oh no, that's all right. Well, it's like I can actually save for retirement now. I'm not worried that this is going to kill me, and having that pressure taken off of me has been wonderful. And I've actually progressed as an artist more than I ever would have otherwise. I wouldn't have this album if I hadn't gone into nursing, because those people don't work for free. Stephen Barber didn't work for free.
No,
he agreed to be on my album. But I had to pay the guy.
Yeah, Rich Brotherton's also got to.
Yeah, it's not particularly cheap, which is another reason it took a long time.
Yeah, but you did it the way you wanted.
Well, yeah, and I never could have done that on like some crazy budget. Now there are people who can. Ben Balmer one of my heroes, he lived in a vehicle, and his albums sound amazing. You know, and I don't think he had to pay a whole lot for them, but, you know, I'm sure he paid something, but it's probably dwarfed by the expense I put into this, and his album sounds as good or better. And that's just, you know, sometimes people have supreme artistry you just can't compete with.
Yeah.
You know, and that's fine. But I'm going to do what I have to do to get the result I want.
So when you set out to make this record, you were like, I want it to get played on the radio. I want to have success. Because the songs, the songs are accessible.
I would love nothing more than for music to become my primary means of income, and then I can leave this other life behind.
Sure.
You know, I get a lot out of...
But I mean, it's not even Kelly Clarkson's primary source of income anymore. You know what I mean?
Well, right.
Like, it's not. She's got like 2 TV shows.
Sure. But, you know, music is my number one. It always it always has been.
And performance, there's still money in that. If you can turn what you do into something that people want to see, you can...
Of course, I'm worried about the live performance end of it. In the long run, it may not be sustainable because I have this vocal condition now.
Yeah, what's going on with that?
It's called muscle tension dysphonia. So basically, my muscles tweak out around my vocal cords and cause them to clam up or tighten up. So I I'm like a tenth of the singer I was, you know,
when you made the record
in high school.
Oh, in high school.
No, I mean I can still get away with it, but I don't know if that's going to last forever. It got to the point where I've been getting Botox injected into my throat. It's insane. It's an odyssey, man.
And that can't be bad. That can't be good in the long run either, because then you're still...
Well, and I'm faced with the idea that I may just have to change my singing style, you know, and do something that I can still get away with. You know, Bob Dylan's never had a classically beautiful voice, but he gets away with it because it's interesting enough that it brings people in. I love his voice, at least back in the day.
A lot more character in it than I mean, obviously,
you know,
Tom Waits and him are not a Whitney Houston, but Whitney Houston can't scare you.
But I still love Tom Waits, and I love his voice. Even though his voice, you know, some people find it hideous, but I like to listen to it. And as long as it's interesting, you can get away with it. So hopefully I can just continue to evolve and adapt to whatever happens.
Well, I mean, Jesus, look at, I mean, nothing, Leonard Cohen's amazing, but like there was I didn't see him towards the end, but there was a commercial on television that would come on for a show, and it was like, Jacob had a physical, and it was like, Jesus Christ, who is that guy, the devil? But yeah, it was Leonard Cohen.
Yeah, I love Leonard Cohen.
Yeah, but I mean, as he got older, his voice got freaky dicky. Like it was like Darth Vader or some shit.
Yep.
Okay, so what
Where
else?
was I veered off. Now I don't know what.
I know, me too. I'm sorry.
Even on.
You were talking about nursing, and now you can do this, and you can take care of yourself.
You know, a lot of people discouraged me from doing that too. They just thought, oh, well, if you go get a degree in something else, you're just going to leave music behind. You're not going to be able to get back into it. And I'd like to send a message out there that that's just not true. My music career is better than it's ever been.
Oh yeah.
And I had to devote a few years, actually several years, because I went on to grad school as well, for another upgrade. I look at it as upgrades.
What was the upgrade? What was the grad school?
It's a master's in nursing.
Awesome.
But I get a better salary because of it.
And where do you nurse?
Well, I'd rather not.
Okay.
Go into that so much.
So people go looking for you at the thing.
Yeah.
Hey, is Jeff here?
That would
For him to sign the CD for my Uncle Dave.
No, thanks,
Dave.
And it can happen. I've been embarrassed at work for that reason.
Do you know Ellen O'Meara? She's a songwriter and also a nurse. Really?
Okay. There's a few of us out there.
Yeah.
And it's a logical choice for a musician.
Yeah.
Because, like I was about to say, I don't know any musicians personally, or very few. I do know a couple. There's very few that only play music, and that's their only source of income, and live comfortably, and just I don't think there's anybody who doesn't have to work some kind of day job first before they get to that point. Very few people.
Or even during, dude.
Sure. Well, like I said, Kelly Clarkson has other gigs. It's like that.
I am a musician. I don't have a quote unquote job, but I do a lot of different shit Like, I don't
Right.
just have my band and we play shows and that's how I live. But I mean, this isn't even that extravagant in any way. And it's also, you know, I mean, I'm in Skyrocket. I do stuff with this company, Song Division. I work with Austin Music Foundation. I've got this podcast. I go and take any gig, you know, pretty much that I can that pays.
Right. So I guess the point I want to make is, you know, don't neglect to pursue an education that's going to net you a better career.
Right.
That's going to make your life more stable.
Sure.
That's going to enable you to pursue your dreams that much harder.
Right.
Because that time, otherwise, you're going to probably spend laboring away at something that doesn't help you get anywhere.
I feel like you're talking directly to me
I'm sorry.
because I dropped out of college.
Well, I think you're doing okay, Johnny. Like,
No, I mean, like, no, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
what I'm saying is, don't discourage other people from doing that. I met with a lot of resistance. People were like, don't do that. Well, you're going to give up on music? It's like, no, I'm not giving up on anything. I'm doing this because I love music.
Yeah.
I'm doing this because I want to help I want it to help pursue my dream that much more.
Yeah.
And it does. I wouldn't have what I have. I wouldn't be on the radio. You know, Facebook ads are expensive. I have money to advertise. There's not many musicians out there
You hired a publicist.
begging for gigs that can advertise. Right. You got to pay a publicist if you want publicity, those kind of things. And it's just the reality now. Like, music doesn't make much money unless you're very well known. And to get there, you know, most people need some help getting there.
Yeah.
And help.
You can help yourself.
Help isn't free.
You can make records without having to do a Kickstarter and stuff like that.
Sure.
And save up for it and do it yourself and
Sure.
release it the way you want.
Exactly. You know, and I think it's great that people find other grassroots solutions to get around some of these problems. And there's people out there charming enough to get a lot of support. But then there's people like me who don't really have a lot of social skills or don't feel comfortable asking people for money.
Yeah.
I feel like I have to do it all myself, you know. And I'm just, you know, it's a pathway that can work. You're not giving up on your dream because you study something else for a while. And in fact, I think it can help tremendously just to flesh you out and round you out as a person, you know, and make you more interesting.
Yeah.
So that's my soapbox. Stay in school, kids.
Stay in school if you want. What else? What was the other stuff?
You asked
outside of
me-
the nursing. That was, you were like, if I told you this, you wouldn't believe it.
Well, I don't even know where to begin, man. You've been helping me
Okay.
just by bringing up stuff helps lead me down the path.
Okay.
Because it's kind of like, you know, I'm not always consciously aware of all that stuff. There's too much, but I'm grateful that I've had an interesting life, and it's mostly because I've just been lucky or, you know, chanced upon certain things that turned out a certain way. And I haven't been afraid to take risks. You know, it's risky, some of the things I've done. I advertised my CD release show with a billboard on I-35.
Oh, really?
And people said I was nuts. You're a nut. Why would you do that?
Is that expensive?
Yes, it is.
I've always wanted to be. I saw. Like, I remember, like 15 years ago, Bob Schneider was on the side of a bus, and I was like, dude, I want to be on the side of a bus.
Well, yeah. And
Saw Maddie Meeks is on the side of a bus.
and that makes an impression. And it was kind of an expensive
How long was it up?
experiment. For like a month. They gave me some extra time up there to be nice, which was cool. And I'll tell you what, we sold out the show. Saxon Pub got full to the point where they had to stop letting people in.
That's cool.
So it did something. It made an impression, you know? And people are still impressed by those kinds of things. Oh, they're on a billboard, must be legit. Oh, he's on the radio, must be legit.
What's the Texas country station like here in Austin? Is there one?
I don't know. The station I'm always trying to get on good terms with is Sun Radio. I really admire that station.
Yeah, me too. It's a
And
good station.
they have given me some love. They let me play Texas Radio Live,
Oh, yeah.
which was a lot of fun. And I think they've given me a couple of spins. People have said they've heard me on there. But I've yet to like break through and become an artist that they
Play a lot.
play regularly.
Yeah.
That's kind of like currently my holy grail.
But that's not Texas country radio.
They play a lot of different stuff on there.
Yeah.
Which, you know.
So with when you have a
back to-
promoter going out and doing stuff, what are the stations that he's going to?
Texas Regional Radio, you know, I'm not really, there's not a lot I can name from memory. My last radio tour was my first time through, so I kind of remember what towns I went through.
Okay, what towns?
We went to mostly little towns like Mason, Fredericksburg, Kerrville.
Okay. Is that Wimberley Valley Radio? Is that part of that?
I may have been there. I think I have. There's a guy there that plays Stump the Young People.
Yeah.
Real nice guy.
Coach, nice guy. Yeah,
I did do that
like
show.
Him. Yeah.
That was fun. I did that before the radio tour, actually. That was...
and so they sent you on a radio tour where you went to all of the stations and like you played for the staff and stuff?
I drive all over Texas and play live on their show and talk. You know, they interview me and stuff.
Okay.
And I bring Ben Ballmer with me. And it's a lot of fun, actually.
You know, like sings harmonies.
It's
and maybe...
like touring,
yeah,
but on a smaller scale, and you're playing in studios instead of at bars.
Right.
It's a lot of fun. You know, I got to see a lot of Texas.
Yeah.
And
do you go back and play in those cities, regular bars, and try and capitalize on your radio play?
Well, that's the idea behind it.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to start happening. Comanche invited us back. We played there, and it did well. And I've made it to a regular rotation in a lot of these towns. So that woman is actually still in the top 100. Last I checked, it's been there for almost a year.
Cool.
And
wow.
We're not actively,
a year?
We're not actively promoting it anymore. So what that means is they put us in regular rotation. So they must like the song, you know. So hopefully this song that's out right now will do even better.
This song is called Wild Eyes, baby. Mm-hmm. And it's out there. So you've got some Austin dates, some Pooties, some 1-to-1.
Yeah.
And people can find you at jeffwarrenjohnston.com.
Right.
Is there any? I know there's a lot of stuff I'm missing, but have we covered?
I mean, I think most people.
Did Amelia say I was nice?
Amelia loves you.
Good. I love her.
Everyone does.
That's nice.
Especially
to say.
me.
Thank you. I don't know.
Amelia, I'm very lucky to have her. That's the thing. I mentioned I don't have social skills, but for some reason I have the knack to get close to people who really do. So, you know, I'll have friends that know how to talk to everybody.
Yeah.
And have the meeting out of their hand. And that saves my life sometimes. And now being with Amelia has been tremendously helpful in just getting me out of my shell and getting me out in front of people and talking to people. And because, you know, I'm a bit of an introvert as an adult. I was an extrovert as a child, which is weird. But right around that middle school time we talked about, that started changing. And you know, I'm very grateful to have her. She still functions as sort of my manager, booking agent, but we had someone else take over because she's back in school now to become a nurse.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
A couple of nurses.
Very proud of her.
Yeah. You ever watched Nurse Jackie?
Sounds familiar, but I don't know that I've seen it.
It's a show about this drug-addicted nurse cheats on her husband. It's pretty interesting. It's like a nurse. It's like a soap opera.
Sounds inspiring.
It's like a adult soap opera, nighttime soap opera. You got singles out available on like the streaming services. I found you on the Spotify.
Please play me on Spotify, folks.
El Toro, That Woman, Wild Eyes, all available on there. More songs coming down the pipe.
Well, the whole album's on iTunes.
Oh, the whole album's on iTunes?
Yeah, and it's also on
what a loser.
CD,
Sorry.
baby.
So your album's not...
These are for you if you want them.
Yeah, man.
Oh.
Jeff, so you didn't put your album on Spotify?
No, just the singles.
Okay.
I know, it's a weird strategy.
First one's free?
It's kind of like...
trying the coke dealer aspect.
You don't want to give it all away. And if, you know...
hey, man, I feel you.
But...
It's nice artwork. Who did that?
Mr. Jim Franklin.
Like the Jim... Dude, you went like...
Well, he's a friend of mine.
Oh, he is?
Oh, I mean, he is now.
Okay.
Since we worked together. I met him at one of my shows years ago. He was randomly in the audience, and he had some really nice things to say, and I was very flattered that he enjoyed my music. And he was the first person I thought of when I needed some album art. And, again, I'm blessed. I'm very honored that he agreed to do that. And it's
Rich Brotherton,
it's
Stephen Barber, Lloyd Maines. Damn, Red Volkart, no longer Austin, dude.
10 years.
10 years, baby. You can do it. How long do you think before you do the next one?
I don't know if I'm going to do an album next. I think I may just put one song.
Bring it back down a little bit.
I think the album era might be in trouble these days.
You think?
Yeah. And it's certainly more cost effective to put out one song at a time.
Yeah.
And if somebody, big label wants to sign me and help me out, sure, I might go back to the more traditional model, but I kind of think I may just try one song at a time until I get to the next tier or next level in my career or what have you.
Okay.
See what happens. But one disappointing thing is I feel like every song on that album could be on the radio. And there's only a couple that the promoters want to push. And they're not the ones I would have chosen necessarily. I think Wild Eyes is great. Everyone loves that song. I understand why they want to push that. But I don't understand why every song on there doesn't make the cut in one way or another. But I guess...
Well, you got to start somewhere.
When you're new, they don't want slow songs, apparently. Or ballads, or... I don't know. But we'll see. But that's the thing. I'd rather, because I'm pushing on the radio, I'm hoping the radio will help me reach the next step. And get me touring regularly and getting me more gigs. So I'm going to try to just cut songs that I want to put on the radio for a while, and before I put out a full album again. Because now I feel like everything else I recorded on there is going to sort of fall into the back catalog after a certain amount of time. That's the other thing. You have to be timely. If you put something out 5 years ago, you can't find anybody to promote it, There's these interesting rules in the music business.
Yeah.
But you could put the same song out, tomorrow, and as long as you haven't promoted it before, then it's fine, But songs have an expiration date, apparently, when you're trying to do the radio game. So, for now, I'm going to be a little more careful about what I put out.
Yeah. But
I stand by that album, and I'm very proud of it. It took me a long time, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and hard work. And I think it's it's actually better than I ever imagined, thanks to people like Rich Brotherton and all the people who got involved. So you can't go wrong if you want to know at least what my countryside is all about.
Yeah. No jazz out there?
Well, I'm actually revisiting that old album that you said you liked years ago.
Oh, yeah?
I'm working with Rich to touch it up because it was a homemade, it was more like demo quality. But I did manage to get a little buzz, like a cult following behind it.
Yeah.
And I don't think it ever really got the treatment it deserves. I'm just kind of at odds with exactly how to market it because I think I might confuse my current country fans.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah.
So I have to find some other way to...
have a different name.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That, without pulling a Garth Brooks, Chris Gaines kind of thing.
That's so weird. I was recording this song yesterday, and that was like the running joke through the whole session.
Well,
I was like, hey man, I'm gonna cut this vocal, and just tell me if I'm starting to sound too much like Chris Gaines.
That's funny.
I remember when that happened.
Well, I don't think it hurt Garth too much.
That was like more than 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like Clinton
amazing.
Was still president when Chris Gaines was happening.
Time is flying by.
It is, isn't it?
But that's the thing. I want to touch it up and give it some treatment that it deserves before too much more time goes by.
Sure. Or you never know. Country music might sound like that in 10 years. Who knows?
Well, it's kind of hard to even identify what they call country anymore sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other can of worms.
That's true. Thanks for doing this show, Jeff.
Well, thanks for
nice
having
talking
me.
to you, brother.
Anytime you want, I'll come back.
All right.
Thank you.
Jeff Warren Johnston. Yeah, man. Check him out. Find him at jeffwarrenjohnston.com. His songs Wild Eyes, That Woman, and El Toro are all available. Produced by the great Rich Brotherton, featuring a host of amazing musicians. All right? It was great talking to him. And also, man, you know, he talked about it. He's a nurse. So I wish him a lot of luck, and I thank him for his service at this time, because I know that people that do what he does are needed very much, both musicians and nurses. But I understand nurses are in a more life or death situation. So go to jeffwarrenjohnston.com, check out his music. I'll put a link to it in the text of this podcast. His music is available wherever it is you stream and download your jams. Gang, don't forget that whenever you're out there checking out jeffwarrenjohnston.com or looking him up on Spotify, our podcast is on Spotify. It's on YouTube. It's on Stitcher. It's on Apple Podcasts. It's on iTunes. Put out 5 shows last week. I don't know how many shows I'm going to put out this week. And don't forget, I'll put a link to the music from the podcast, what would normally be episode 898. All right? Thanks so much for listening to the show. I want to thank Jeff Warren Johnston for stopping by. Stay safe and stay healthy. All right? Hang in there, gang. Let's get down.
Younger, but she's just like me. She's got her head on straight, but her mind is drifting free on no particular road. And to me, true love's always been taboo, but now that I've met her, all I want to do is free with her in broad daylight. It's not about impressing my friends or even telling myself I can love again. No, no. It's not that simple. I think about her day and night, and I'll never get to sleep